Welcome back, Iron investors, to your favorite YouTube channel, Iron Capital Talks, the podcast where we aim to interview C-level executives, founders, general speaking, successful investors from the blockchain industry to reveal here at this table their journeys and experiences, most importantly, the mindset behind their massive success. Today, the talk is with Bilal Sabouni, a highly accomplished business executive with an impressive portfolio in international business management and government relations in the MENA region. Currently managing director at Guidepoint, a global expert network platform that connects businesses and investors with industry experts, facilitating consultations and research services. Bilal, welcome to Iron Capital Talks and thank you for accepting our invitation.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
We met, I think, somewhere, it's been almost 1 year and a half so far, right?
Yeah.
Since I met you, we had a great talk on the spot directly when we just introduced ourselves, and we follow up, I think, recently. And from there, I understood the level you operate, and I was so inspired, and I want you to be here to reveal to our audience your journey and your experiences in the research field and business intelligence. And hopefully people will appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here. I remember our first meetings quite fondly, and catching up again has been fantastic. You're a fantastic character yourself, quite a success story. So, it's a pleasure to be here and support Iron Capital.
Awesome. I want to start our conversation with what's called the foundation, with the core activity behind any other activity, the research part, right? Covering the importance of a proper research. What does it take in order to have this stage covered in a proper way? Like why people should pay attention to this research part when they prior any investment or prior any decision?
Well, I mean, I may be slightly biased, but removing myself from any kind of bias, look, the research phase is crucial. As they say, fail to plan, plan to fail. So research is absolutely important. And it is probably the most important step or phase of any kind of important business decision, whether it's financially important or strategically important. The research and planning phase is your foundation.
I found out that the more time you spend during the research stage, the better the decision after. It's like left side and right side. The more you spend on the life side and the underground, when it's like unseen things, when you go and play the soldier role, when you go and spend time into research, analyzing and collecting data, filter it, understand exactly what you are doing, then you are coming in front of your decision much more better prepared.
I agree to a certain extent. There is a point where you reach a stage called analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And it is typically the inquisitive type, the type that throws him or herself into research and planning, that may fall into this analysis paralysis stage where they ultimately cannot get out of the research and begin implementing and starting to get to work. So that's just the only danger. And there are certain types of research that can cut straight to the chase to avoid analysis paralysis. So I would say it's not necessarily the length of time that you put into research, but the quality of that research and how well it delivers the insights that are needed to take the first step. Because research is an ongoing process. It's not something that you just do at the outset of starting a company or analyzing an investment. You continuously are researching and adjusting strategy. It's something that will not stop. And I think people need to understand that they have to focus on the first few steps rather than trying to anticipate what's going to happen way down the line.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So it's much more better in terms of efficiency, just collect maybe just 40% of data, start and optimize on the road. And as you just mentioned, it's an ongoing process. keep collecting, keep researching, but your train is already on the rails.
Yeah. I like to think of opportunities as waves of different sizes, from small waves to tsunamis. So you can be one of three people. You can be the person that is on the beach researching until the wave passes you. You can be the person that does a little bit of research, but not enough, and ultimately tries to ride the wave, but then gets crushed by it. Or you can be the person that times it perfectly and does enough research to identify the wave, know that it's a wave from far out at sea. You can begin to tell there's ripples on the horizon. And with experience, you know that this is a wave. You learn how to anticipate that. You swim out into the ocean and then ride the wave. It does take experience. It takes mentorship to be able to understand what a wave is, how to best maximize the potential opportunities, and to avoid failure or to avoid not seeing it at all.
A leading research and business intelligence company, how do you navigate the ethical challenges surrounding data collection and privacy in an era where user privacy is becoming increasingly important?
That's a good question. I would say just have very rigid structures. Try to eliminate a question of ethics with strong compliance, legal processes and structures. You can eliminate most bad decisions through these kind of flowcharts and algorithms that ensure that compliant behavior is being followed. And one's best judgment as well. 99 times out of 100, if you have to go to your compliance team to ask if something is possible, expect that 99 out of 100 times you may get the answer that no, it's not possible. In our business, we try to eliminate the question of what is ethical, what is not ethical through very just rigid structures. We've got a fantastic compliance team whose sole focus is compliance and ensuring that we maintain track. We've got a great legal team. So from a Guidepoint perspective, there is no real question. We follow the structures that are in place. And then, it's up to our clients to ensure that they're also just as compliant and just as ethical in the way that they're going to be using this service that we're offering.
For those individuals who are behind startups, small businesses, right? We're just getting started. What will be the right process when it comes to separate the information? Like, how can we literally understand the difference between a valuable info and a fake info?
This is what's concerning a lot of people.
As a beginner, when you are just the first touch with that information.
Yeah.
Like, what will be the right process to separate them?
I think validating information. And you don't validate by using ChatGPT. With all due respect, it's a great tool, but its reliability is highly questionable today. And I think it's a very kind of common understanding that you're not going to take major business decisions or confirm major business decisions based on whatever you may find on the internet. As we know, ChatGPT is just an aggregator of what is on the internet. So
internet in one place.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this term hallucination. ChatGPT hallucinates sometimes. It picks up stuff that is on the internet, which is at scale, and it thinks that it's real. What we've done is we're relying on primary resources. So the actual fountains of knowledge, the people, humans that have human intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Today, there is no replacement for the human. The intellect, the intelligence, the insights that come from human beings is not far ahead. I mean, it's just not equatable to anything that a system or a machine can offer. So to find those people that can validate assumptions and talk from an expert's position and perspective on certain topics is crucial today. Whereas a few years ago, maybe the use case for us was more to be involved in early stages of research. Now with tools such as ChatGPT, maybe people are trying to find their way using their own methods, but we still have a very strong use case to validate. You should not be taking any decision, whether financially important, strategically important, at any level, at a startup's level, at a government's level. You should not be taking it without validating from a trusted, reliable resource, a primary resource, which is, again, typically a person.
Maybe we can just apply the journalism strategy to confirm the source or the information from three different sources, right? Just go and understand where you get in touch with that information at the beginning, and then look after it in more places. You find it put it in the same way, in a different way, in a totally opposite way, and then you compare and be in a point where, by your own filters, to understand at one point which one is fake and which one is really valuable.
Yeah, no, our best clients follow that practice. So they're not, if it's a, say, $100 million investment into a sector that is uncertain to them, they feel like they have a pretty good understanding, they've gotten advice, and so they're ready. And they will go out and validate from experts, subject matter experts in the field on the topic. And they will choose several people to chime in and provide their insights. And there must be consensus among these 3 or 4 different subject matter experts. And they will pit some of them against each other. So, hey, expert A said this, you're saying something else. Why would you say something different than expert A? What is your perspective? And they will not rest until they have a definitive understanding as to why there was conflict amongst the different experts and their viewpoints. And that is when they know that they're going to be ready to embark on the investment, on the project, or to put it off because there is just too much uncertainty, even though it's at the very last step of activating that investment.
I mean, like, the difference is fundamentally, or is just a different point of view, general overview about that particular situation, right? Like, if you find out that the second source is fundamentally in a totally different opinion, that gives you a perspective of okay, I need to search more, because it's just black and white.
Yes.
Doesn't put you in a common sense of the situation.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, hopefully, when you're at the very end of your research phase, you're not going to get that level, that divide in opinions. But yeah, if it were to happen, I would say that yes, you're certainly not ready yet to move forward.
The importance here is to understand the research stage starts with finding the right source, who is literally legit in that particular market to generate an opinion or a trend or a certain documents, and then take the information from there as a legit source. This is the first step, and then you are in position to understand that your information comes from the secure source, right?
Yeah.
And then you go and diversify the sources, and but at the beginning, this is very important to understand. Like, go and find out who is legit in that particular market to generate, official statements or knowledgeable and valuable information.
Legit, but also unbiased. That's also very important because people have interests, and sometimes, even though somebody is legit, they may have some bias on the topic. So you also want to make sure that the conversations that you're having are not tainted with a biased perspective. And as you can imagine, Guidepoint, the firm that I'm working with, has thought about that in our history since the early 2000s. And it's very easy. So we provide our clients the privilege to be anonymous in some cases, so they can prevent bias from occurring. Yeah? So an expert is talking to a client of ours, but not necessarily knowing what the motives or the intentions are.
The more we zoom in this world of research, the more we find that it's quite easy to reach that level of analysis paralysis, because as we can see just during this conversation, there are a lot of elements where you have to put a lot of effort to understand. Okay, you got the source, but the source has its own bias. How do you know is not manipulated or not? Mm-hmm. What's the interest behind of generating those kind of outputs, right? Like, yeah. Who has interest to people find, because they know someone is coming after this information at one point, right?
Yeah.
And then if I know you are coming, I'll put on the table something which I want you to find, right?
Yeah.
Is a chess game,
yeah.
almost.
Yeah. We have founders of companies, chairmen and CEOs of companies that are validating proposals from their own team. They're constantly on the lookout for bias in everywhere around them. They're continuously validating. So they may not need 3 different perspectives to validate a proposal from the team, but to have one person give the thumbs up who is completely unattached to the business of this proposal is something that our clients in those positions find extremely it's assuring.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a safe place to be, at mm-hmm. least mentally, to have this opinion from an outside player. I want to touch this part with, let's say, human resources versus AI machines, right? In a world where we are going absolutely at the speed of light towards AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, metaverse, virtual world, all these elements in place are coming after us, mm-hmm. inevitable. How do you position the research process using human resources versus software, AI tools that can generate outputs in a way faster?
I think you actually used a word which answers that question. It's just one word. These machines. You said the word tools, and that's exactly what they are. They're tools. Yeah. Google is a tool that revolutionized how we organize the internet and how information can be kind of brought together, and at least in list format there. In my opinion, kind of ChatGPT is the next evolution of Google. It has just a different output. And yeah, the pace of technology is rapidly evolving. We're risking dating this podcast by speaking of the metaverse being future and these technologies being in the future, whereas our kids will probably look back and think, my goodness, my dad was alive before the metaverse was normal. That's scary.
Yeah. It's on the spot, nothing structured, nothing. Always here the interviews are open and just speak your mind in a very natural way.
Yeah.
Nothing attached.
Yeah. So that's why, I think the virtual reality and the metaverse, in my opinion, maybe I'm of a generation that thinks a certain way, but I think these applications of technology are gamifying reality. Certainly, it's interesting. You and I, before we started filming, we were talking about travels, and I was telling you about where I'm going to go this summer, and you were talking about your plans, and you said, in the near future, somebody's going to put on a headset and be in Bali, and 20 minutes later decide they want to pay $10 and have the experience of Miami.
Play basketball with Jordan, whatever.
Yeah. And my reaction to that was kind of, I felt a pain in my gut.
Is it true?
I didn't know whether to be scared of it or whether to kind of welcome that era with open arms. I'm of a generation where I still think there's nothing like being there in person. The smell of the sea, the feel of wind in one's hair. It's something that I still think can't be replaced. But you immediately said, wait for it. It's coming.
We like it or not, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
In a backend, do you really see it like a war, like human versus robots? Do we really need to put it into that frame of to really pay attention? Like, it's really dangerous if we just let the technology, leverage in the all aspects of life?
I think there are certain risks, right? Because our entire lives, everything is digital. Everything. Internet and our phones and these microphones. Everything is digital. Everything is somehow now, with the Internet of Things, is interconnected. I think it's not very hard to see the risk where there is a very powerful machine or, say AI that potentially, just think in a very extreme scenario, what if AI decided to switch things off by itself? It can, right? AI is digital. AI is a machine, and the rest of the world is now run on digital platforms. So there's nothing really, if we don't put those barriers in place, there's nothing that prevents AI from going out and switching off the world, for example. In my opinion, I think the next COVID is digital. Whereas, there was a bacterial infection that shut down the world in 2020. The next shutdown of the world may, in fact, be digital.
There are rumors right now circulating in the news market that like a internet lockdown, it's somewhere there possible scenario.
Yeah.
And I think if you think from the news perspective, it is going to put you in a place where just to think about it, like how my day will look like without internet. Like I'm sure you had days when you forgot your phone home or something like that. What's the feeling? Like you are completely lost in the world. Like you are literally this glass of water.
Yeah.
You can't operate at all.
Yeah.
You feel without hands.
Yeah.
Is that much in terms of implication in our?
Yeah, I mean, when I forget my phones, I'm not in a state of panic, but I'm certainly lost. My schedule is driven by my calendar. Yeah, I have my day organized. I have reminders in advance. I'm extremely punctual. I came here on time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without my phone, I would not be able to do that. No way. And without the tools such as Google Maps to navigate here, you have to kind of step back and really see how much we're reliant today on technology. Remember back in the days when you had to memorize phone numbers? I remember those days.
Yeah.
I still remember my house phone number, and now kids these days they have no idea what their parents' phone numbers are. It's just a listing in the contact book. So, yeah, if that were to happen, I mean, humankind, of course, will survive.
We'll find ways.
Yeah, we'll find a way.
We'll find ways. Absolutely, we'll find ways. We are much more intelligent than any artificial intelligence. Even though Elon Musk said, not recently, but almost not more than a year ago, that the level they reach with artificial intelligence is like at one point where is self-consciousness about itself as an artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I mean, what they put on ChatGPT available is like, I don't know, 1% of what they have right now. Is peanuts.
They're obviously working very hard in their R&D departments, and governments and big companies are it's a rat race in some aspects. But at the same time, there's a significant kind of work going towards regulating. So I think there's consensus amongst most of the large tech firms that there needs to be some.
They met and discussed about this.
Yeah. So with governments and the leaders of the technologies that are being developed, all in the same kind of mindset that there needs to be some sort of control, I think we're going to be okay.
Yes, absolutely. They have to control. They have to, because at one point it's just a matter of use case, right? And the intention behind, like what you literally want to achieve with artificial intelligence. You want to put it into work for specific cases, help you with faster results, efficiency, or you have totally different things in mind. The intention is crucial here, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I want to touch another aspect, which is we face a very tough period with the pandemic, right, in COVID times. As a research company, world's leading company in the research field, how did you manage to do a proper research when absolutely everything was shut down? Like, what is the process of, I mean, at your level, at that level of implications when you deal with governments and big entities at higher scale? What kind of challenges do you have when everything is just shut down?
First of all, as a business, we were ready. We were prepared by adopting technologies well in advance, cloud technologies. Nothing was server-based. We didn't need to go into an office environment to plug in to a mainframe computer of sorts to conduct our business. So just by virtue of us being up to speed and up to date, we were able to kind of mitigate the challenges that COVID and lockdown presented. So we were able to conduct our business. And then our business model seemed, we were able to kind of work around the challenges of COVID and lockdown. Our research is conducted by first receiving a topic or a request from a client. So whether it's a government or a corporate, whether it's a consulting firm or a startup, it's the same general process. It starts by a topic being sent to us. Our client wants to investigate this subject. What we do is our research process is to translate that request into a list of profiles, a list of people who are capable, willing, and available to speak to the subject at a specific time. And we scour the world recruiting and targeting for this expertise. And we were able to access this expertise from experts that were locked at home. So we didn't necessarily need them to move anywhere. We were able to conduct our business really with all the challenges that were being presented seamlessly. So I think we were very fortunate in that sense. We didn't need to kind of drastically have to change the way of our standard operating procedure to turn around these projects.
As you mentioned earlier, humans will find ways all the time to escape the matrix.
Yes.
What's the most research field industry you get asked to do the work in?
Guidepoint is extremely focused onto 150 different sectors. So it's hard for me to really pinpoint one sector or one industry that is the lion's share of the research that our clients. So certainly when technologies first emerge, there's a lot of curiosity around that technology, how it may or may not impact one's business, one's market, one's customers. These questions are raised, and we do work around those topics. Technologies as they emerge in deep tech, quantum computing, and all of that obviously is generating interest. Sustainability is a subject that is finding more investment.
Always on the table.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of startups that are focusing on sustainability across all the different measures and aspects. The SDGs are very, very kind of popular for investment. But yeah, healthcare, technology, and industrial sector.
You can take one and say this one is the winner. It's just more.
Well, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. Our clients.
That's not necessary to be mentioned.
Sure. Yeah, no, look, with our contracts are extremely tight in terms of client confidentiality. So I'm not able to share specific projects with you, but yeah, general sectors are those, but it doesn't have to be something as glitzy and glamorous and sexy as AI and blockchain. And some of our requests are extremely, for example, the logistics for supply chain of honey from Holland to Turkey.
So specific.
Yeah, very specific, but also very boring. Maybe, apologies to all honeybee farmers out there, but we have all sorts of requests.
Did you have any requests that you said, no, we cannot do this? I mean, I don't know, in terms of it was too dangerous or I don't know. In any aspect, you evaluate the situation and said, no, we don't want to do this.
I mean, there hasn't yet been something that we have not been able to do, at least from my perspective that I have seen, that didn't cross any compliance boundaries. So long as it's compliant, I believe we haven't really had yet an instance where we were not able to support our client in some way to gain some sort of perspective. Sometimes the topics are so niche. The pool of experts that are capable to talk about the subject could be just a few people in the world. And so our job is to find these people, onboard them, and then supply them to our client. That is sometimes a challenge. But where that isn't a problem, where the pools of experts are all right, large enough for us to not struggle with trying to hunt down one or two people in the world, there's really almost no topic that we cannot support our clients with.
I think that's the main reason why the Guidepoint is operating at this level. Is just an amazing company.
Thank you.
What's your favorite book? I want to touch this part. We need to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
It was so intense in terms of research. obviously a beautiful world behind the scenes for those who are active players, practitioners of the research. You'll find that there is like an art bit to find it there when you put it into work and you are focusing on finding the right data and the right information. It's a beautiful work out there, this process. I found it very interesting. But I want to go now in this part of a little bit of mindset, because we cannot, put ourselves apart of being successful without having, a killer mindset, an iron mindset, how I like to say. And obviously, reading is one of the key elements that influences further our mindset, the way how we think. Is there any favorite book that is in your mind there as a winner that has a huge impact in your mindset?
There are a lot. And fortunately, I grew up in an era where reading was still cool and fine and mandatory, and there weren't a lot of distractions. So look, books like *Sapiens* and *The Alchemist* and *7 Habits* by Stephen Covey, and all these classics have been great. But when I sometimes get asked that question, I like to take a different route and just emphasize on the importance of also acquiring knowledge that is current. So reading the newspaper every single day is something that is very important to me. When I don't read the paper in the morning, I feel that there is something that is missing, that I don't feel comfortable for the rest of the day. I feel odd. And so, acquiring that, that level of information through that daily habit of reading a newspaper is today what I think is shifting my mindset incrementally. The big and popular books that are available, you read that and you sit down and you say, wow, that can kind of influence, one's, approach to life, to business, to relationships, etc., substantially. But don't underestimate the incremental shift of in one's behavior by reading a newspaper, by reading a magazine, a business magazine, or any kind of daily, weekly journal. These are incredibly important practices to keep, in my opinion.
Yes, it's a thing of having this feeling where if I'm just reading this article, or if I'm just talking 2 minutes with that person, what can I take so much from this? But if you do this constantly, after a year of practicing this habit of taking small periods of time, let's say like that, and according to your job or your expertise that you want to perform, just pay attention to those details, as you just mentioned. Read specific newspaper, 3 minutes, or at one point it pays off in a very, very nice way.
Absolutely. And for the new generations that just suffer from ADD and just cannot sit still for more than 10, 15 minutes, there are fantastic summaries of the traditional books that you and I probably took the time to read. I would strongly recommend that if somebody feels that they don't have the energy or the time to commit to reading a 200-page book, to at least download an audio summary, a synopsis. ChatGPT, actually, funnily enough, can summarize books quite nicely in a kind of reader-friendly format. But it is, some of the philosophies that are in these books are incredibly important and valuable. But at the same time as well, one should also not discount human relationships, right? So, elders, people that are experienced, leaders amongst industries, and they are open books themselves. They are a wealth of knowledge.
Very nice way of saying yes. Indeed, a valuable source of one step ahead information, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to more experienced people around us. As a reading strategy, I want to keep the discussion around books. Do you find it more efficient to read, let's say, the same 3 books over the next 2 years to squeeze and take literally the entire power of that information inside of the book and take certain action as well, versus, I don't know, being in this loop of, I read 300 books this year, but you just, if I ask you something, you know nothing about any book?
That's an interesting question. I think you're not going to become the most interesting person in the room by reading 3 books and becoming extremely knowledgeable in those 3 books and in the subject matter of those 3 books. And with me, I have this passion to try to be one of the most interesting people in a room and to be experienced and to have diverse knowledge. So I would probably lean towards reading a wider variety of books, a greater number of books, having that level, that's, if it's surface level, if it's slightly deeper, it's better. But having that kind of breadth of knowledge, to me, trumps the depth of a very limited number of topics or books in this case. In today's age, to know where to access information and insights is, half the game. So if you're presented with a situation and you can recall that this subject was talked about in a particular book, that's good enough, because you can open up your laptop, purchase that book, and try to find where that topic was discussed, or try to access information to kind of support that particular decision that you had to make, or whatever the scenario is. So that would be my philosophy on it.
To me, if I have Atomic Habits, The Magic of Thinking Big, and Marcus Aurelius, I think you are covered in 99% of the information, and you have everything what you need to reach a very strong mindset. With Atomic Habits, literally you'll change your daily basis habits, teaches you how to structure your day and how to approach negative thoughts, positive affirmations, and also very actionable things. And then The Magic of Thinking Big, just scale up that foundation of the right mindset. And Marcus Aurelius is just a classic that it's absolutely mandatory. With those 3 books, I found it that is just a matter of having a different point of view of the same content if you go and keep adding other mindset books. I think you are covered in I don't know, I don't want to say in percentage, but you have a very strong mindset from these 3 books.
Yeah. It's about how you apply it, right? So if you have the maturity and the mindfulness to be able to apply your learning into different scenarios, then that kind of works for you. Maybe others don't have that maturity, that mindfulness, and so they need to be kind of have a more structured, this book applies to this particular scenario of my life, this phase in my life, this particular moment. But for anything that is 5 degrees to the left or 5 degrees to the right, I need another book. I think each person has their own way to absorb and retain and work with knowledge that they acquire.
Yeah, I found out exactly the same thing, that is the same information, but put it into a different perspective, a different writer, obviously, but the core information is the same. So that's why I have this opinion. Like, you just pick, this is like my choices, right? But you can just pick 2, 3 that particular book has impact in your mindset, and read it for the next 2 years, only that book. I think you reach much more faster an iron mindset, how I like to say, rather than reading the same content saying in 100 ways, in 100 books. If you are going to give a piece of advice for your youngest self, like 20 years old, what will that look like?
20-year-old self. I'm relatively kind of happy with my early adulthood. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot by making mistakes. However, I at a very young age, at that time in my life, I didn't have a mentor, a business mentor. Yeah. Well, I mean, and my father passed away when I was a young child, so I didn't have that father figure either. So I had those kind of disadvantages when it came to making certain decisions, having a wise and experienced person to bounce ideas off of, somebody that was absolutely unbiased. So I think I would have probably gone and told my 20-year-old self to go and find a mentor, somebody that I could confide in, share openly with, receive feedback from, and somebody that I selected, somebody that I respected, because, you don't want to be, forced into a relationship with a mentor that you don't really respect or don't like, and you're not going to respect their opinions and their perspective. Someone that you actually look up to. I think that's a very valuable piece of advice that I would give my younger self.
Absolutely, yes. Talking to someone who is one step ahead you is crucial, but super efficient in terms of business-wise. I think we can wrap it up here. I just want to thank you again for coming to Iron Capital Talks. We had, as usual, a beautiful talk, great topics. I hope, guys, you understand here today a little bit of the power of research. You hear this all the time in all the tweets, everywhere in the digital space. Do your own research. Do your own research. Everybody is mentioning, because it's indeed so much powerful tool that will position yourself to have a better understanding about your field, about your actions. Will position yourself in a place where you can literally have a better decision, and you are always one decision away of making a great investment, a great decision, and that's the power and beauty of research. I want to thank you for watching our episodes. Please subscribe if you consider, drop a comment, tell us how we did it. You can find us on Iron Capital News across major platforms, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Iron Capital Talks on YouTube, the podcast where we aim to interview C-level executives. I want to bring valuable people here at the table, discover their journeys and experiences, and learn together from them. Thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one.